Alrighty, how's it going guys? I'm Solo Bandit and welcome back to another drift tune here on carx drifting online. So today we're going to be looking at the VZ212. It's a class 2 car and it's running 100 AD for the tires, and like always it's a ultimate mods drift build. So this thing is now it can be competitive, I will say that. It can be competitive, but I like this car for more of a surprise factor drift car, you know, because you hardly ever see this car in lobbies. I think I've seen this about once over the past month. You barely see it, and the people that you do see driving these things, they don't know how to drift, they're just normally crashing into people, just being dickheads, right? But this is an actual legit setup, and it is a lot of fun, and it's great to see people pull up next to you, they're like, oh look at this thing, you know, they write you off, and then you just start banging on their door for the whole track, and they're like, wow, this thing goes hard, and then they try to build it themselves. You know, that's the point of the channel, is to create more variation and more variety for people to be able to use different cars instead of the same generic ones we always tend to use in the game, right? But I think something that would make this game 10 times better, right? Because there's an issue I have with carx, and that is the sound quality. Now this car is extremely quiet. It's too quiet. You can barely even hear it. You've got to turn the game volume for your car all the way up and the game volume for the surrounding cars almost down to nothing just to hear this car. That's how quiet it is. And also the sound does cut out for this car every now and then, which is also very annoying. It's the same as the MX-5. Sound cuts out, very irritating. Now, just hear me out here. I can't be the only one that would enjoy this in carx, right? Just imagine if you had the ability to change the sound for every single car in the game. Just imagine how many variations of cars you could make from the same car in that perspective, right? So for instance, you've got this and you've got a 13B rotary engine sound in the settings, right? You put it under the body kit section where everything else is. You might have a engine icon with about 5 or 6 sounds or 3 or 4 sounds, and you can use those sounds for almost every single car, right? So you can have this thing here with a 13B, and you've got it lined up next to someone else who's got an SR option on theirs, which is a SR20 engine out of like a Nissan, or maybe it's an RB20 or an RB26, or maybe it's an LS swap. That would be so cool because you've got all of the same cars, but they all sound completely different, which means that you can cater to the sound to make the build look completely different and be more unique. Right, that would just be so sick. You know, if you've got maybe you've got the gigantic van, you want to do something crazy with that. You want to put a different engine in it. Maybe you want to do an S13 with a RB in it. You know, something like that, or even a S13 with a 2J in it. Things like that would be so cool, and it would add so much more flavor to the game because there's already a lot of crazy stuff in the game which I love. But I think that this would be another thing that they could add, which would completely overhaul everyone's builds and the way we look at our cars in the game. Because personally, when I see a car like this, with the way it's sitting, the only thing that's missing is the sound. It looks cool, it looks banged up and aggressive, it looks like the kind of car that when you see it on the track, it's going to be crackling and popping and you know what I mean, right? Like sounds like a CA18 Det just popping away, or a 13B just firing flames. That kind of stuff, just super aggressive sounding. But unfortunately, this thing sounds like a Prius. It's not the best, but that's probably the only downside with the car. I apologize for the long intro, but I'm really passionate about that. I think the sound of a car is also like putting the wheels on a car. It's the final fitment that makes the car. You get the wheels wrong, you know, it ruins the whole car design. You get the sound wrong, it also makes the car sound like garbage, right? So I think the sound also makes a huge difference in the game, especially if you're a car enthusiast. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You can't resist when you hear an RB going down the street with a screamer pipe sticking out. You can hear like, ooh, did you hear that? You know, it just sounds so good, and you just can't help yourself. You're like a kid in a candy store when you hear them. But anyway, with that finally out of the way, guys, I apologize for that. Let's finally get into the build now. The VZ212 is just a straight up fun build. It honestly is. If you want to bang doors, you can definitely bang doors, as you would have seen in the video. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And yeah, this is a base build. Like always, you need to do the last 10% yourself. But for this one in particular, you probably don't. The only changes you could probably make with this thing is possibly increase the gear ratios if you don't like slapping that limiter as much for this car. But I wanted to make it an aggressive build, which works on multiple tracks. So yeah, with how it's sitting right now, it's actually pretty good. So with that said, here's the settings, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Alrighty, there you go guys, hopefully you got all the information down. Like always, don't forget to send me those screenshots and videos if you're interested in getting your own cars and videos featured on the channel, as I am starting a series for that in a few weeks from now, probably about a month depending on how many I actually get. My information will be down in the comment section below. You can go ahead and send that to me, and I'll go ahead and make a start on those videos. But yeah, hopefully I see a few of you guys out and about in the servers running this car. I really do want to see these in the lobbies more often, because they're a lot of fun, and it's just fun because you know, you go up against those really sweaty players in a car like this. They don't like it, especially when you're hanging doors with someone that's put in literally 100+ hours on one build, and here I am rocking up on their door with a car I've been working on for about 3 hours and just absolutely obliterating them. But yeah, with that said guys, hopefully you enjoy the build, because it is a really fun build, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.